Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jyamudivayat. Nastuyasya Bhadrasya Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavata Tamasake Bhakti Bhakti Naistake. Good morning. We are reading today from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, Prayers of Queen Kunti, text 25. This is a very famous and extraordinary verse, quoted many times by Srila Prabhupada in many lectures. I will first quote the Sanskrit. Vipadah santuta sasvat tatra jagad-guru bhavato-darsanam syad apunar bhava-darsanam. Now we have the word-for-word translation. So we have vipadah, calamities. Santu, let there be. Taha, all. Sasvat, again and again. Tatra, there. Tatra, and there. Jagad-guru, the Lord of the universe. Bhavato, your. Darsanam, meeting. Yat, that which. Syad, is. Apunar, not again. Bhava-darsanam, seeing repetition of birth and death. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. Purport. Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. When one has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nations, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hooves of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with a place where there is danger in every step. This material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. That less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust those calamities without knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. They have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and without trace of calamity. The duty of the same person therefore, is to be undisturbed by worldly calamities, which are sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritual realization, because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities, therefore the so-called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there's no tiger and there's no suffering. It is simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a forward step on the path of going back to God. I read the verse once again. Vipadah, santu, sasvat, tatra, jagad-guru, bhavato, darsanam, syad, apunar, bhava-darsanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. Om Jnana Timandasya Jnanasamasnakam Chaksvan Militam Yena Tasmai Shigove Namah Chichitayamanopistam Staptam Yena Bhutali Svamrapkadamayam Dadati Svahapanantikam Vandeham Shivo Shiyuda Padkamlam Shigam Vaishnavam Sam Shiyupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagalita Shivashakam Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandha Chatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwani Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriya Vancha Kalpavasha Kripasana Vaivasha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namo Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Kusakami Srila Prabhupada Ki. I read the verse again. Vipadah santu sasvat tatra jagad-guru bhavato darshanam syad apunar bhava-darsanam. I wish to see that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So this is an extraordinary verse. Who would desire calamities if one is free from calamities? Queen Kunti had so many calamities in her life, and some of them were mentioned in the previous verses. They tried to poison the Pandavas by offering a poisoned cake. They tried to burn them in a house of shellac. Tried to kill them so many ways. They had man-eaters. They had to fight with man-eaters. And then finally, you had this Battle of Kurukshetra. And now all the calamities were over. And certainly they had no shortage of calamities in their lives. But the Pandavas won the battle. The kingdom was theirs. It was a time to celebrate. But now she says she wants these calamities again and again. Yeah, it's like a masochist that wanting to suffer. That I remember when I was young in my youth, in the 60s, 70s, I met a few times yeah, it's a Christian order, the Jesuits, and they have all this tradition. They have, yeah, they do self-flagellation, torture themselves. That they torture their body. They understand that they live the sinful life, and the body is the cause. So they will want to control their sinful life, and they torture themselves. That of course, in Krishna consciousness, we don't do that. That Kunti understands that life in the material world is very dangerous. Before we know, we are deviated from Krishna consciousness. And she understands that the only happiness lies in getting the shelter of Krishna. So Kunti remembered that, and she had she went through all these calamities. But these calamities, they forced her to take shelter of Krishna. That if Krishna would help, then they would feel happy. Jiva Goswami says that Kunti is in prema. So prema is 7 stages: sneha, mana, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav. This bhav is a stage of prema. It's not, it's not the bhav, the stage before. No, it's a stage of bhava here, of the stage of prema. And then you have prema, so 7 stages. Jiva Goswami said Kunti is in anurag. She had great attraction for Krishna. That so anurag means deep attachment to Krishna. That so Krishna, devotee loves Krishna so much, and he gets so much pleasure from it, that whatever the price is to get it, it's very small. That the price seems nothing compared to what you get. That it's like in India, someone offers you a house for 10,000 rupees. It's nothing. That so whatever the price to be paid, what you get is so great. This ecstasy, this happiness has no limit. That so that shows the situation of Kunti Devi, her level of advancement. That in the Srila, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes different points. Says the material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. That so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it's dukkhalayam ashasvatam. Dukkhalayam means it's full of misery and it's temporary. That there's a verse in the Bhagavatam in the first canto, chapter 5. Tashaivaita prayate kovido nalapyate yad pamatam yapayata dalapyate dukavam anyatosakam karalena sarvatma gabira ramasa. One should search for that happiness which is not available from the lowest planet to the highest planet in this world. So one should seek for that spiritual happiness which is not available in this world. That, because happiness in this world, it comes on its own accord, like distress comes on its own accord. We don't have to strive for material happiness. That, but most people, they don't know what spiritual happiness means. Spiritual happiness comes from our relationship with Krishna, living in our relationship with Krishna. And Rupa Goswami called it bhakti ras. The transcendental mellows of emotions we experience in relation to service to Krishna, service in love to Krishna. So that can be experienced when our heart is pure. But first we have to purify our heart. First we have to purify. Otherwise, we cannot experience that relationship. Because our anarthas are like clouds covering. It's between us and the holy name. The holy name is Krishna. But to come in contact with the real holy name, yes, we must remove these clouds first. But Queen Kunti's heart is pure. She has direct contact with the Supreme Lord at every moment, because she takes shelter at every moment. And all these calamities are good, because it helps to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So this bhakti ras of our relationship with Krishna, that living in that relationship. To live in that relationship, one must first know who Krishna is. And therefore we must hear and remember the Supreme Lord. So all these 9 poses of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Archanam, Vanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So hearing about Krishna, remembering Krishna, glorifying Krishna, these are the 3 most important processes, especially in the beginning. We must hear about Krishna. Therefore we hear this Bhagavatam, that we get to know really who Krishna is. How can we know really? How can we know who Krishna is? That Rupa Goswami said, when with these blunt material senses, we cannot perceive Krishna and not know who Krishna is. But when one starts to use this tongue for chanting the holy name, as a service rendering to Krishna, so it must be done in a service mode to Krishna. And one uses the tongue only to take prasad, food offered to the Supreme Lord. Then gradually, when senses become purified, then one gets to know who Krishna really is. So that's the process of chanting, of rendering service to these 9 methods, that Pada-sevanam, washing the lotus feet of the Lord. We do deity worship, we worship the lotus feet of the Lord. Vandanam, we offer prayers. Then Dasyam, we are serving the Lord as a servant and develop friendship with the Lord. Then Atmani Vednam, then we complete surrender. So that is a process of surrender. Krishna says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadhamam Prajyamam Kamsam, just surrender unto me. Means follow my instructions of man mana, think of me, machai, you worship me, that you become my devotee. It's a process, but this process has different stages, the stages of surrender. And to attain that process, to come to this stage of Queen Kunti here, first we have to accept what's favorable for developing Krishna consciousness. And we have to reject what's unfavorable in Krishna consciousness. And then we must realize Krishna is our only maintainer. And Krishna is our only protector. And then one becomes humble, very humble. And then one surrenders. So that's the process one must go through. That's the process of Sharanagati, described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the process of surrender. And that process is also described in the Sri Sampradaya. This Prapatye, the process of surrender, is very important in that tradition. But for us also, we have to surrender to the process that the Lord gave us. But to go to that process, we need the help of a spiritual master. We cannot do that on our own. Only by the empowerment of the spiritual master in the disciplic succession can we make spiritual advancement. Why is that? That Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he analyzes the causes of bhakti. That's it. You find that in Madhurya Kanambini. What's the cause of bhakti? He said, pious activities cannot be the cause, because pious activities, you do pious activities and in your next life you get bodily happiness, sensual happiness for that, so it's material. From bhakti is spiritual, from it's something material, something spiritual, it cannot come. So then what is the cause of bhakti? That says the cause of bhakti is bhakti. Bhakti must come from bhakti. Only one who has this bhakti, this love of Krishna, can give you that love. Therefore, Krishna had made that arrangement that it is in one of the Puranas, it is said, it's Lord Shiva explaining to Parvati. And Lord Shiva says the highest form of worship, he says there are many methods of worship, but the highest method of worship is the worship of Vishnu. But higher than the worship of Vishnu is the worship of the devotees of Vishnu. The worship of the devotees. So yes, if we want bhakti, we can get it from the spiritual master. And how do we get that bhakti, from that seed of bhakti? Because that is also explained by Lord Chaitanya. He says, Brahmanda Brahmite Konya Bhaktyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasadi by Bhakti Datta Beach. He said, a spirit soul goes up and down into the universe That but when the jiva, the spirit soul, becomes bhagyavan, bhagyavan means here it becomes fortunate. Then, by the mercy of Krishna, he will meet a bona fide guru. And by the mercy of the bona fide guru, of this guru gives the seed of bhakti to the disciple. It gives the seed. And that seed is the mantra. And other process of devotional service. But then one must water that seed by hearing and chanting. And then this seed grows gradually, grows into a caper, first with 2 leaves, and these 2 leaves are called klesha agni. That one becomes free from suffering. That and subhada is the other leaf. Is your life becomes auspicious. And gradually, when you continue watering the leaf and take care of the weeds, you must remove the offenses. Then the plant grows, and the plant grows through the universe. The spiritual plant goes through the coverings of the universe and through Vaikuntha and takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, and there it blossoms in a beautiful lotus and bears fruit, the fruit of love of God. That's explained by Lord Chaitanya in that way. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains this process. He says, Tatvina Panapatna Pariprashna Sevya Upadeksanti Tejanam Jnaninas Tatvadakshina. One should approach a bona fide spiritual master and submissively inquire from him and and serve him, render service in a humble mood with humility. And when one does that, so what is happening? What is happening? That Krishna explains in the next verse. Yat-shatvan apunar mam evan yasya sipandava yena bhutani ashani takshani atmani atomai. That so yat-shatvan apunar mam evan yasya sipandava yena bhutani ashani takshani atmani atomai. Says, having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, then the first thing is you will come out of illusion. That so Prabhupada in this purport he writes further in this purport that yes, everyone lives in this illusion, that in a dream that we are the body. That you become free from this illusion by knowledge, and you start to see that all living entities are a spiritual spark, a part of Krishna. That they are spiritual, that they are not the body. That, but you become free from illusion. That because we think we are the body, we think the body becomes diseased, we are diseased, or the body dies, we are dying. But no, the spirit soul is eternal, and the consciousness of the spirit soul is eternal. So we take birth, that so the body takes birth. We think we are taking birth, but no, we are appearing as a spirit soul in this body, and this body takes birth. And then it goes and goes to an existence of 60, 70 years, maybe a little more or less. And then you have to leave this body, finished. Then the soul has to continue his voyage it's Juni. So this experience of life in which we think we are the body is very troublesome. But factually, it's a dream which starts with taking birth and which ends by leaving the body. And it's a very bad dream. On the way, we try to get some happiness, but it's very small, the happiness. We get much more distress. Mostly what happens, what we desire does not happen. That it's a bad dream. But one who has knowledge and becomes realized as, oh, this is a dream. The real happiness lies in my relationship with Krishna, which is eternal. I don't want to be absorbed in this dream. I want to be absorbed in my real identity as a spirit soul, which is a servant of Krishna. And I want to be engaged in that service. That there is that verse that so there's a verse in Nectar of Instruction. The Nectar of Instruction is very essential for us beginners. It explains the whole process of surrender. First starting with accepting what's favorable for Krishna consciousness, rejecting what's unfavorable for Krishna consciousness. But yeah, I think it's verse 9 or verse 10. Let's see. Yeah. So in this Nectar of Instruction, and I'm nearly there. I think it's verse 11 verses. Okay, it's verse 10. I read that verse that in the Shastra it is said for all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such peoples who are advanced in knowledge, jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. So then you take to devotional service. That's what we all try to do. And then he's superior to others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. That's a pure devotee. Then the gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowboy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda lake is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, render loving service to the divine couple Shishya Radha Govinda. So it says here that we should reside at Radhakund and in our spiritual body, surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, render service to Radha Krishna. And that, so we have a spiritual body, but we are not using it now. That we have the material body, the gross body, then under the gross body there is a subtle body, and the subtle body exists because there is a spiritual body. The Srila Prabhupada says, yes, our spiritual senses are there. They are covered over by subtle and gross body. But the spiritual body you can only use in the service of Krishna, not for material things. So when you start to serve Krishna with your senses, with your body and your mind, it becomes spiritualized. You start to use, that means you start to use your spiritual body again. And one who is liberated, one has attained prema, is not aware anymore of the gross and subtle body. He lives in his subtle body. Also, the gross body may still be there. So that is what's said here, that you should recite that Radha Kunt and serve Krishna with your spiritual body. So this is, if you come to that point, you are completely free from illusion. Because you know I will not die, I'm in my eternal body. and it's okay to get rid of this gross covering, which we don't need, which hampers me to go back to the spiritual world. So then you come out of this illusion, which is described here. That you lose your interest in the life of the body. It becomes disgusting. So that it said, Yamunacharya said that when I think of sex life, I have the tendency to spit. No interest anymore, because one experiences higher love, this param trist van Ivartate, this higher taste. But when you follow the instructions of the spiritual master, then you come out of illusion. And once you come out of illusion, Krishna says, you are on the boat of transcendental knowledge. So, and here in the purport also, Prabhupada speaks about this boat. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nations, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hoofs of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord. And they have nothing to do with the place where there is danger at every step. So it's you cross the ocean of material suffering when you come out of illusion. And how does that happen? Apsutasa pabhyo savabhya papaketama savakana pravenya vichnam santarishyasi. He said, even if you are considered the most sinful of all sinners, when you are in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross the ocean of material sufferings and attain your spiritual position. But we have to remain on this boat. Bhakti Charamats used to say, to remain on that boat, you must do 4 things every day. You chant your rounds, you follow the regulative principles, and you do service in Prabhupada's mission and do service. And the 4th thing is you hear the Bhagavatam every day. So that's what we are doing right now. So these 4 things, if you don't do these 4 things, you do only 3 things, then you are in danger. You must do the 4 things and you remain on the boat, and the boat will bring you to the other side. So the boat of Krishna consciousness is very simple, Srila Prabhupada writes, but the most sublime. Once you are on this boat and you have developed this taste and you give up all these offenses and that are against, you come in the mentality of a servant, servitude, humbly. Then what's happening? Bhagavad Gita said, Yadai damso samiduch nirbashmatai kurutarana, seknachni sarva karmani bhavasat kurutar kurute tata. Then as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, in the same fire of knowledge, realized knowledge, that destroyed all the reactions to material activities. So it means your karma goes away, your heart becomes purified, and gradually you get more taste as your heart becomes purified. And when your heart is pure, then you chant in ecstasy and develop love, Krishna. So that is the process. But that process starts with following the instructions of the spiritual master, which are Krishna's instructions. And he gives you this seed of bhakti, and we must follow the instructions. But of course, if we fail to follow the instructions, guru avakya is called, as one of the offenses, we cannot make advancement. So once Srila Prabhupada said to his disciples, he said, yes, so the question was, Srila Prabhupada said, he asked the question, why do you think that I'm getting up in the middle of the night to translate these books? That, he said, it's for you to read. If you don't read these books, go avakya. It is an offense towards the spiritual master. So we see here, Queen Kunti, she knows very well who Krishna is. She said before, I'm a woman, how can I know you? All these great munis, they try to know you, but how can I then know you? But she's most qualified to know Krishna. That if you are understood who Krishna is, you become attached to Krishna, and you take shelter of him. And she has that great attachment. And that is what we need to do, to develop this attachment. Now we are attached to so many things in this world, but every moment we can be thrown out. So that attachment is childish, because soon it's all finished. But that attachment, we must change. We must come from attachment to the material things to attachment to Krishna. And that requires laulyam, greed, a longing to develop our relationship with Krishna. Because the spirit soul, the symptom of the spirit soul is consciousness, but the activity of the soul is attachment. And because of material attachment, the soul gets new and new material bodies. But we must change our attachment to spiritual attachment to Krishna. And that attachment is developed by hearing about Krishna. So we must hear the bhavato. And by hearing about Goloka Vrindavan, we develop an attachment to go there. We want to go there with our consciousness. We are the consciousness, with our consciousness. Externally, we may be in this world, but internally, we must be with Krishna. And in our mind, serve Radha and Krishna. And that's the purpose. So these are few comments I could make on this verse. So any comment or question, please?
Raj, could you name the 4 things again for staying on the boat?
For staying on the boat? Yeah. We must chant 16 rounds every day of the Hare Krishna mantra, but with great attention. Try to avoid offenses. We should follow the 4 regulative principles. That these are the basic principles of religion: mercy, or compassion, austerity, cleanliness, and truthfulness. We should abide by these. And the third thing is, we should do service. Whatever we do, Krishna says, yad-guru, syad-asna, syad-yostada, syad-yatapasya, kanti, yad-kusma-matarvam. Whatever you do, whatever you give away, whatever charity you do, whatever austerity do it as mat arpanam, as an offering to Krishna, do it for Krishna. To do service. And the best service, Krishna says in the 18th chapter, 1869, is the preacher, the one who tried to give Krishna consciousness to others, is most dear to me. So by engaging, service means service in Srila Prabhupada's mission, because Srila Prabhupada, his mission is to spread Krishna consciousness. And if we do service in that mission, one way or another, we are connected. And then the fourth thing to do every day is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, because by hearing the Bhagavatam, we come to know who Krishna is, we come to know who we are, we come to know how to develop the right mood in our service and develop our relationship with Krishna. Because we get to know how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. It establishes our sambandha jnana, our relationship with Krishna hearing. So we must do that every day. And then if we come in the right mood, then we will be able to chant with spiritual feeling and purify our heart. That, so, anything else? Good. Next week, Wednesday, I hope to be online also at the same time. And that it is the Chida Dahi Festival next week. The festival of chipped rice and yogurt with Raghunath Goswami surrendering to Lord Nityananda. That will be for next week. Another festival next week, Wednesday. Good. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.